Hello, Ryan Weems here, BG Customer Service. We're here today, we're going to do a BG automatic transmission fluid service. When we talk about automatic transmission fluid services, what we're talking about is taking the old transmission fluid out and putting new transmission fluid in. There's a couple different methods of doing this. The typical to-go-to method of changing the old transmission fluid is what is known as a drain and fill. What that means is that what we'll do is there's actually a pan on the bottom of this transmission. And what happens is when we do a drain and fill, we actually take that pan down. We drain the fluid that's in that pan, we put the pan back on there, and we put more transmission fluid back into the transmission. We still have the old fluid in the transmission. When we start the engine, transmission engages and that old fluid and new fluid mixes. Technically, you don't have new fluid anymore. That's not very efficient. What we're wanting to do with BG products, we've developed a system to where we can get all the old fluid out, put new fluid in there. What we'll do is we'll start that process by adding BG Quick Clean. We'll add Quick Clean to the old transmission fluid in the transmission. We'll start the engine, we'll engage the transmission, and what's happening as the Quick Clean is going through this transmission, the Quick Clean is actually taking the varnish and gum that's built up throughout this system and putting it into suspension. Once we get that varnish and gum into suspension, we're going to use a machine to take the old fluid out that has that varnish and gum in suspension. We're going to take all that out. We're going to put new fluid back into the transmission. When we put the new fluid back in there, we're going to add a conditioner at the end. The conditioner, ATC Plus, is going to help the new fluid do its job longer and better. So next I'm going to show you how we'd actually hook the BG transmission machine up to the transmission system. This is an illustration of a typical automatic transmission cooling system. We've got the transmission obviously right here, the engine would set right here, we've got the transmission cooler, and we have the transmission lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to, with our BG transmission machine, we're going to actually connect to the loop, the transmission cooler loop of the system. Typically the transmission would pump fluid through your cooler and back to the transmission. Since we've got our transmission, BG transmission machine hooked up to the system, what's going to happen is the transmission is going to pump through the machine, through the cooler, and back to the transmission. Now we're going to do the transmission service on this vehicle using the Performance Exchange for Transmission PXT transmission machine. I'm going to ask my assistant Cody Lyons to help me with the service. So our next step is to actually connect the transmission machine to the cooling system of the transmission. We've got a series of adapters in the drawer there. You got to identify the appropriate adapter for the vehicle. The PXT machine, it runs off 12 volts, so we're going to have to connect the machine to a 12 volt power source. We're going to use the battery of the vehicle. Got a power switch right here on the side of the machine. I'm going to turn the machine on. At this point, what we're going to watch, we're going to look at is the screen, the display. Once the display comes up, we're simply going to follow the instructions on the display. So what are we wanting to do today? We're wanting to change transmission fluid, right? So first thing we're going to do is change transmission fluid. At this point, the screen basically asks us if the transmission machine is hooked to the transmission. You get it? Are we hooked up, Cody?
Yep.
Thank you. So we'll go to next. All right. Next thing it asks us to do is start the vehicle. So we're going to start the vehicle. When we start the vehicle, we want to pay attention to our connections, make sure we don't have any leaks. So I don't have any leaks, and I'm starting to see fluid come through our sight glass. That means things are doing what it's supposed to do, okay? Press next. All right, is the pellet in the sight glass flowing to the left? Yes, it is, okay? If it was flowing in the wrong direction, for example, we'd hit no, and it's going to tell us, basically, it's going to tell us to turn this ball valve 90 degrees. My point is, if the fluid is going the wrong direction in the sight glass, all you got to do is turn the knob 90 degrees to correct the flow. So I'm going to go to next. Is the pellet in the sight glass flowing to the left? Yes, it is. So we're happy. Okay. Is the transmission level in the vehicle high, low, or full? What we're going to do is check the fluid level and see where we're at. All right, transmission's full. If the transmission was over full, then we could use the high button and we could take some fluid out. If the transmission was low, we could go to the low button and we could add some fluid during the service. Our system's full, so we're going to go ahead and go to full. Okay, we got 16 quarts. We put 16 quarts in there, so I'm going to run 15 quarts, so I have an extra quart at the end to work with. So we go to 12. So we can choose however much fluid we want to use, depending on how much we have in the new tank. Are we adding BG Quick Clean? Yes. Are we adding BG ATC Plus? Yes. Next. All right, the delay. How many minute delay do we need? What this is talking about is that when we put the Quick Clean into the transmission, we got to give the Quick Clean time to work. There's two methods here. We can add Quick Clean before the car comes into the bay, so we take the car for a drive, or let the car sit outside with the Quick Clean in there, then we wouldn't need a delay. In this case, we haven't added the cleaner yet, so we're going to have to put a delay. So we're going to run 15 minutes. No problem, go to next. Add 1 can of BG Quick Clean to funnel 2 and press yes. So we got funnel 2 right here. I'm going to grab our cleaner, our BG Quick Clean. Yes. Next. All right. So it gives us a review of what we're doing. We're doing a 15 quart service, and we're putting BG Quick Clean in, and we're putting the BG ATC Plus in, and we got a 15-minute delay. So we're going to go to start service. The machine's automatic adjusting the levels. Next thing it's going to do right now is taking the Quick Clean out of the funnel and putting it into the system. At this point, we've got our 15-minute delay. What's going to happen, Cody's going to get into the vehicle, and he's going to actually run the vehicle or the transmission between gears. Here we are to the end of our delay. We're letting the Quick Clean clean the transmission. When this gets down to 0, the machine's going to go ahead and continue to do the service. So what's happening right now is the machine's taking old fluid out and putting new fluid back in. How do we know the service is complete? 1, the machine shuts down. 2, we can visually see that the new fluid is gone, and we've got our used fluid, it's full. The other thing we can look at is you can see the nice red fluid in our sight glass. If you remember before, it was dark, telling us indicator that we needed to change the transmission fluid. So that tells us good things have happened to this transmission. The next thing it asks us to do is add 1 can of BG ATC Plus to the F2 funnel. So we're going to go ahead and do that. ATC Plus. I'm going to hit yes, start. Once again, what's happening is the conditioner's being pulled out of this funnel is being pushed into the system. At this point, what we're going to do is check the fluid level of the vehicle. Looks okay. If we needed to add some fluid, we could simply push add. You got to push and hold, and you could add. If you needed to add a half quart, you could add a half quart. Same thing. If you needed to remove some fluid, you just push and hold, and you could remove as much as you needed to remove. At this point, the fluid level was fine, so we're going to go to next. All right. Once again, it tells us what we did. We used 15 quarts, quick clean, ATC plus. Everybody's happy. The next thing we're going to do is follow the instructions. Turn the vehicle off. We're going to disconnect the lines. We're going to take the machine off the vehicle. We're going to recheck the fluid level, make sure that we're where we need to be. This service is recommended every 30,000 miles. That is how you do a BG automatic transmission fluid service. That is how you keep this transmission operating properly for life.